Hello everyone, I'm Meteorologist Charlie Ironmonger. Thank you so much for joining me today for your 10 a.m. news and weather update from the First Alert Desk. And we've got news out of Havelock where a man who was involved in a fight was arrested. Now, Havelock police say at around 1 a.m. Tuesday, officers were called to a report of a shot being fired during a fight outside Jeans, located at 330 East Main Street. Now, when officers got there, they found that two groups had gotten into a fight in the parking lot. Police say 36-year-old Christopher Ryan pulled out a gun during the fight and fired one round into the air. No one was injured, but the corner of the bar was hit by the bullet. Ryan was charged with one count of discharging a firearm into an occupied dwelling and one count of discharging a firearm within city limits. Now, Ryan was taken to the Craven County Detention Center following the fight. He posted a $50,000 bond. And in other shooting news, we turn to Greenville, where another man has been accused of shooting into an occupied car. 21-year-old David Garrett Jr. was arrested earlier this morning by Greenville police. They say that they were called to the area of Square Street and Terrace Court at around 3 this morning for a report of shots fired. Officers found that Garrett had shot at a car several times while it was occupied by 4 people. Police say none of the 4 people in the car were hurt. Garrett was charged with assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill and 2 counts of discharging a weapon into occupied property. Now, he was taken to the Pitt County Jail and booked under a $150,000 bond. And we now want to turn our attention to international news, where the president of Colombia has now withdrawn intelligence sharing with the United States following the military buildup in the Caribbean. NBC's Richard Engel has more from Bogota.
With President Trump massing warships and troops in the Caribbean, Venezuela is preparing for war. State-run television is now showing volunteers receiving weapons to fight what the country's authoritarian president, Nicolas Maduro, calls American imperialism. In neighboring Colombia, President Gustavo Petro has suspended intelligence cooperation with the U.S., opposed to deadly American strikes on boats in the region, allegedly carrying narcotics. I met with Mr. Petro in the presidential palace in Bogota for his first interview since that controversial move.
Do you believe that the ships that have been attacked by the United States were carrying drugs?
Maybe or maybe not. We do not know, he said, adding, they are poor boatmen hired by gangsters. The gangsters don't sit on the boats.
A current Colombian military official, a senior official, told me that the most valuable tool that they have to fight against the drug traffickers is intelligence and intelligence sharing. So why would you possibly limit that?
Clave es la inteligencia.
Intelligence is key. The more we coordinate, the better. But intelligence is not for killing, he said.
No es para matar.
President Petro is one of the few world leaders willing to publicly criticize President Trump.
What do you think of President Trump? What do you think history will say about him?
Es un bárbaro.
He's a barbarian. But anyone can change, he said. President Trump has put sanctions on President Petro, putting him in the same league as Venezuela's President Maduro. But Mr. Petro was sharply critical of Maduro.
Do you believe that Maduro is a legitimate leader?
No, yo creo que...
No, I believe there has been no legitimate leadership in Venezuela for some time, he said.
Do you think that the Trump administration is heading toward war?
Nos quiere atemorizar.
He wants to frighten us, he said, warning that a war in Venezuela could spiral out of control.
And again, that was Richard Engel reporting. We now turn to your weather forecast. Today is going to be another dry day in eastern North Carolina. Not seeing much in terms of rainfall anytime soon. We're going to have to wait until we get into next week before we start seeing an opportunity for drops across the area. Right now, we've got 62 degrees along the Neuse River in New Bern. Northwesterly wind coming in at 16 miles an hour. And well, today is looking like a fairly comfortable day. Normal this time of year is right around the mid to low 60s, and we're heading that direction as we make our way towards the afternoon. Not quite there just yet, though. Still 10 o'clock, really 10:04 on the clock. Right now, air temperatures generally in the mid 50s to low 60s. Compared to where we were yesterday, most areas again showing a pretty noticeable jump, about 5 to 10 degrees warmer than where we were yesterday at this time. Now, again, normal is right around the low 60s, some areas mid 60s. Overnight lows generally around around the low 40s. Now, we are going to be above those numbers, at least your daytime highs, over the next several days, despite the northwesterly wind. The northwesterly wind's just going to do a good job of keeping us from getting too warm too quickly. Then the weekend's going to happen, and those air temperatures are likely going to be shooting up into the low 70s Saturday, mid to upper 70s by Sunday. But the northerly winds will keep us from the 70s for your Thursday, today, and tomorrow, Friday. And then Friday evening, you start to see those winds shift out of the southwest. Now, big picture look at what we've got going on across the country. High pressure down to our south continues to kind of replace itself with its friends. Just more high pressure rolling into eastern North Carolina. It does look like we will eventually see rainfall, but that's coming in next week. Doesn't look like we'll see any sort of rain out of any cloud cover that we'll see. It's going to be pretty thin cloud cover at that, but we won't see drops until we get late Monday night into Tuesday. After that, again, air temperatures kind of holding in that mid 60s to upper 60s range for the end of the week. Lots of sunshine, very dry weather, but hopefully people enjoy the weekend. Well, that's all we have time for today's 10 a.m. news and weather update from the First Alert Desk. I want to thank you all so much for joining me. We'll be back with more news and weather coming up at the top of the hour. Until then, have a wonderful day.